How's it going, folks? I'm Duz with DuzFit, and this is the Apple Watch Series 7 Nike Edition, and in this video I'll be comparing it directly to the Apple Watch SE Nike Edition from both the smartwatch end of things as well as the fitness side of things. So I actually have some tests where I was wearing the SE on one wrist and the Series 7 on the other, just to see if there's going to be any difference in terms of heart rate as well as GPS accuracy for activities like running, cycling, as well as weight training. And I'll tell you that both these watches do a good job, but there are some minor differences between the two that we'll talk about later in this video. So when it comes to what these watches have in common, they actually share quite a bit in common. So both are fantastic companions to your iPhone, where both can receive and reply to text, and you can also speak through the watches using their built-in microphones and speakers. Both the SE Nike Edition as well as the Series 7 Nike Edition have cellular models that are available, so this would be beneficial if you want to stay connected with calls and texts without having to bring your phone with you. But regardless of whether you choose one of those cellular models, they all have GPS, so you'll still be able to track your outdoor activities without having to bring your phone with you. They both also have fall detection, which will attempt to contact emergency services in case you've fallen and are unresponsive, and then with these cellular models, they also have international emergency calling. So when it comes to the physical hardware, this is where they differ a bit, where the Series 7 is just ever so slightly larger than the SE. So both do have small and large versions available. So the Series 7 large version is 45 millimeters, and then the SE large version is 44 millimeters. And those are the ones that I'm wearing in this video. And then for the smaller sizes, the Series 7 comes in at 41 millimeters and the SE comes in at 40 millimeters. There's really three main differences between Nike Edition Apple Watches and non-Nike Edition Apple Watches. So first of all, they come with a special Nike Sport Band. They also come with some exclusive Nike watch faces, and then they also have the Nike Run Club app pre-installed. The list of available watch faces is very similar between these two devices, and you also do get those additional special Nike watch faces with both of them. But where this differs is that the Series 7 has some additional watch faces that are specially optimized for the larger display. What's funny though is that when the displays are off, it's kind of hard to tell a difference in terms of the size, but where the size does make a difference is with the displays, where the Series 7 display is 20% larger than the SE, and the borders or bezels are just a bit smaller on the Series 7, which makes it look like the display kind of bleeds over the edge. The larger display on the Series 7 is nice for sure, but the SE display is still great though. Another difference with the displays is that the Series 7 has an always-on display, where with the SE, it times out after a certain time period to save on battery life, and then to wake the screen back up, you just simply raise your wrist. The raise to wake gesture on Apple Watches is actually super intuitive, and it basically always works as intended, but having the always-on display is a nice to have with the Series 7, where you can just glance at it without having to turn your wrist. But you can turn off that always-on display on the Series 7 if you'd like, which will actually save a little bit on battery life. Oh, and really quick, if you're finding the information in this video to be useful, do me a favor and just hit that like button down below. It's a small little thing that'll do to help this video and the channel out quite a bit, and I appreciate it. The Apple Watch SE has the S5 chipset versus the S7 chipset on the Series 7, which is supposed to be 20% faster than the SE. Now, to be honest with you, I can barely tell a difference here though, where both are super snappy and I don't notice a lag or delay on either of them. Both also have Apple's digital crown with haptic feedback, which you can use to navigate around the device. Both are also water resistant down to 50 meters. However, the Series 7 is also IPX6 dust resistant. I've personally never had a problem with water or dust resistance on any of the Apple Watches that I've tested going all the way back to the Series 3, but I guess there's just a little bit more peace of mind with the Series 7. Both the SE and the Series 7 also have what Apple calls their always-on altimeters. Now, all watches that do have altimeters, those altimeters are actually on all the time as well. It's just Apple's special little way of saying that both these watches have special watch faces that show your altitude in real time. Additionally, both have Bluetooth 5.0, so you can connect them to a variety of headphones out there, and then both also do have 32 gigabytes of internal storage to download content like music and podcasts directly to the watch themselves. And then when it comes to battery life, both of these are going to be very similar, where you'll get about a day to day and a half out of them, depending on how much you interact with your watch as well as how many outdoor activities that you track. Now, where these differ though is with charging, where with the Series 7, it has fast charging, where you can charge the watch from empty to full in about an hour, where with the SE, it takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The day-to-day battery life on Apple Watches isn't necessarily stellar, but I have to say that the fast charging in the Series 7 has definitely made a difference in terms of my world. So for me, I can usually get through a full 24 hours and still have about 20% of the battery left. So it's just nice that I can place the Apple Watch Series 7 on a charger for maybe 30 to 45 minutes and get a full charge to last me another full day. Now, one thing I wanted to note here is that if you purchase these in 2021, both of these do come with USB-C charging cables, but those charging cables are actually different, where the charging cable that comes with the Series 7 is specially optimized for that fast charging. Now, I tried to use that fast charging cable on the SE as well as a whole bunch of other Apple Watches, and spoiler alert, it didn't make any difference. And if you want to see the results of those tests, I'll have a video that I'll have linked down in the description below. Both have heart rate sensors, but they're a couple generations apart in terms of technology, and we'll talk about the accuracy of those heart rate sensors here in a bit when we go over the sports and fitness performance. However, both do offer high and low heart rate notifications as well as irregular heart rate rhythm notifications. There are two features that are related to the heart rate sensor that the Series 7 does have that the SE doesn't have though, and those are the ability to measure blood oxygen saturation levels using its built-in SpO2 sensor, and the Series 7 also has the ability to record an ECG. And then for daily activity tracking, both of these will track the exact same metrics like steps, calories burned, and both also do have sleep tracking. When it comes to the sports and fitness capabilities of these devices, they're actually exactly the same with the stock workout app. So you can track all the common stuff like walking and running, cycling, both indoors and outdoors, swimming, both indoors and outdoors, weight training, gym workouts like the elliptical and stair stepper, and a whole bunch of other types of activities. Actually, the list of activity types is actually pretty enormous with the stock workout app. And then with the Nike Run Club app, this is basically an app that's just all about running, so it won't be able to track activities outside of running. So what's nice is that if you do use the Nike Run Club app, the data is still transferred over to the stock fitness app, so there's really no worries there. But in all the following examples, I'll be using the stock workout app just because I was testing a lot more than just running. So when it comes to the accuracy of these devices for sports and fitness, let's first talk about GPS accuracy when it comes to distance and speed for outdoor activities. So on this road ride here, all the stats lined up really nicely. The total distance was all very close to each other between the devices. Elevation gain was also relatively close, and so were the calories burned. And then if we take a look at the GPS tracks from that ride, again, quite good stuff. So on nearly the entire ride, both the Series 7 and the SE were spot on. In fact, at times even more accurate than some of the other devices. I did notice on just a handful of spots, the SE drifted just ever so slightly. It was incredibly minor, and I really had to look close to even find those spots. Now, one interesting spot I found though was this roundabout where both Apple Watches actually did the best here, where they both didn't overshoot the corner like the other devices did. I was actually really impressed here. And then of course, if you've been a long-time subscriber to the channel, you'll likely recognize this exact corner, which I used to test the finer detail when it comes to turn accuracy. And on this run, both watches did a great job here. So when it comes to the GPS as well as altimeter accuracy between these devices, both of them do a good job. And what's great is that I've actually seen improvements to the GPS accuracy on the SE over the last year as I've been retesting it with different firmware updates. So good stuff there. Okay, so now let's move on to heart rate accuracy. And both these devices do a good job, but just like GPS, there's an ever so slight difference between the two, and I'm talking by a very slim margin here. So on this run here, for the first 20 minutes or so, both the SE and the Series 7 were pretty much spot on with the chest and arm heart rate monitors. But right around the 23-minute mark, both started to wander a bit, which was kind of interesting. However, the Series 7 got back on track a bit quicker than the SE. Still though, it's not like either watch had crazy spikes or dips, but the Series 7 seemed to do just a bit better. And then for indoor cycling, both of them did great here, where they were both essentially perfect. A slight little hiccup here from the Series 7 and an ever so slight blip here, but basically this is on the money. And then on this road bike ride outside, I had the SE on my left wrist and the Series 7 on my right wrist, and the Series 7 did really well here. The SE had a few more issues, but there were never any huge spikes or drops, but definitely a noticeable difference between the two. And then on this ride, I went ahead and switched wrists with the watches just to validate the results, and well, we basically see nearly the exact same results here. In terms of which one is better or worse, kind of hard to tell, but I'd say the Series 7 squeaks out a little bit on top with just a few less deviations than the SE. And then when it comes to weight training, which is an activity that can pose challenges for any wrist-based optical heart rate sensor just due to all the wrist flexion and arm movement, both did a very respectable job here. When we take a really close look, we can see on these sets here that the Series 7 took a little bit longer to track the rise in heart rate, and these were bicep curls, by the way. And then here and here on these tricep extensions, the SE had two sets where it tracked a little high. And then for the remainder of workout, overall both were really quite good, but there was one set here where the Series 7 tracked ever so slightly high, and then right here on my last set of hammer curls, there was a little dip from the SE. And then both did a great job on the high intensity intervals at the end. So when it comes to heart rate accuracy, the Series 7 may have the latest and greatest generation heart rate sensor, but in the whole scheme of things, both of these do a really good job. So I would take either of these sensors in the heartbeat. That was seriously no pun intended. So when it comes down to the sports and fitness performance of these two devices from a GPS as well as heart rate accuracy standpoint, both of these do a fantastic job. I'd take either of them. It really comes down to the bells and whistles with the Series 7, like the SpO2 sensor, the ECG, these always on display, as well as the slightly larger display on the Series 7. And if you're coming from another Apple Watch, you'll probably notice that slightly larger display, but if this is going to be your first Apple Watch that you're shopping for, I wouldn't say that's necessarily compelling a reason to get the Series 7. And then when it comes to the Nike editions, it really comes down to whether or not you want those special Nike watch faces as well as the special Nike watch band, because you can install the Nike Run Club app on any Apple Watch. So if you're okay with charging your watch every day to day and a half, I can easily recommend either of these watches. And I'll have some links down in the description below where you can check the latest pricing. And those are affiliate links that do help support the channel without costing you anything additional. And it's just a nice way of supporting the channel if any of the information in my videos has helped you out at all. And another thing that you can do that'll help this video as well as the channel is hitting that like button down below, as well as subscribing to the channel for lots more sports tech videos that are coming soon. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.